Hey, Miji, how are you? Tasha Love, how are you doing? How is everybody doing tonight? I'm excited to get on tonight. If you guys wouldn't mind, drop your location in the chat. Okay. Um, Let me see here. So I am here in Phoenix, Arizona. Miji, Salt Lake City, Utah. Graham, MA, Washington. I love that. Nevada. Love it. Tisha. Why was I saying when I look at it, Tasha left. Tisha. Sorry about that. But thank you guys for hopping on tonight. I'm excited to get on. Okay. I'm going to be talking about something that affects over 90% of us. So most people actually don't know that they even have it. That's actually the sad part. And so if you wouldn't mind, as you come into this live, and I know that obviously there will be more and more people that will come into this live, and feel free, if you have any questions or thoughts, feel free to type them into the chat, and I will do my best to help answer any questions that you might have. But I'm really excited to get on and really share something that I really think can make the biggest difference in people's lives. Most people actually don't know that they even have it, right? And I kind of think that that's kind of the sad part, is that most people don't realize that they have insulin resistance because it is often never talked about. Okay, so some of you that will hop on this live tonight, you might be somebody that actually is struggling with your health. And if there is anything that I can do that might be able to help you, that is my goal. Okay, my goal is to help make a difference. Okay, so if you happen to be struggling with your health in some way, okay, this information is going to change your life. Now, I want you guys to listen closely, right? Because for most people, this is really the first time that it has ever been explained correctly, and maybe even clearly. See, most people don't have a weight problem. Most people don't have a discipline problem. I would even go as far as saying is that I don't think that most people have even a motivation problem. I think people are pretty motivated. What people have is an insulin problem, and nobody ever told them that. And so if you ever feel tired after meals, if you crave snacks, even when you just ate, if you're gaining weight, doing all the right things, okay? If your blood pressure or your cholesterol or your A1C keeps creeping up, this isn't aging. It is not genetics. It is called insulin resistance, okay? And it affects 93% of people. So if any of that sounds like you, would you mind typing me in the chat, ME in the chat? I just shared a few of the symptoms that I know some people, most of the people have, but if it sounds like you, please type me in the chat, okay? It helps me to know how many other people are struggling with this, but it also helps me to know that I'm not talking to myself. And Graham Ame, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you, okay? That kind of went down the wrong pipe there. So let me say something that might challenge what you have been told. Okay? If calories were the real problem, dieting would have worked by now, right? Because how many of you have been taught to eat 3 meals a day and to snack 2 to 3 times throughout the day, right? Or how many of you have been told to move more and eat less, right? Eat smaller meals, right? Keeps your metabolism high, right? We call this the calories in, the calories out approach. Folks, if eating less fixed this, you would already be there. Now, I believe the same thing for years, right? I thought that I just needed more discipline, more willpower, more control. But guess what? My body kept pushing back. Okay. Have you ever felt like your body was fighting against you? Like everything you're doing just, it seems like you're taking 3 steps backwards. Okay. If you wouldn't mind sharing yes or no, right? Folks, you and I were raised, or most of us were raised in the fat-free calorie counting era, right? We were told to eat every 2 to 3 hours. We were told to snack all day long to keep your metabolism going. We were told to avoid fat. We were told to count everything. And look where that got us. More fatigue, more inflammation, more medications. And that advice did not fail because people failed. It failed because it ignored hormones, which controls your calories. So let me ask you guys this. If you were ever taught to eat every few hours growing up, would you mind typing yes in the chat? Okay. Were you taught to eat every few hours? If that was you, put yes in the chat. Folks, I want you to understand that insulin resistance can be fixed. It can be reversed. It can be improved without the need for meds or diets or extreme exercises. 93% of people, I want you guys to remember that, okay? 93% of people are struggling with their health. And most people literally have no idea that they even have it, right? How many of you realize, right, that you're dealing with fatigue and tiredness and all of that, right? How many of you can relate to this? And my hope and really my prayer is that what I share with you helps you to avoid the same mistakes that I've made. If you're struggling with your health, this information could change your life. And if you know somebody who is struggling with their health, I would invite you to share this with them so that they can hop on, they can listen, they can ask questions. Joey, appreciate you hopping on. Folks, I'm talking about something that affects 93% of people here in the United States of America. But this is something that affects people all over the world. It's actually a bigger issue in other countries, if you can believe that. I mean, how much worse can 93% of a country get? Seriously. For most of my life, I was dealing with symptoms that I didn't understand. No one ever explained the real connection between them. And what I eventually learned was something called insulin resistance, which I would bet that your doctor has never sat you down and never explained Joey or Miji or Troy. Insulin resistance. This is what insulin resistance is. When was the last time that your doctor did that? You see, here's the problem that lies here in the United States. Here's the part that no one wants to tell you. If I go to a doctor because I have IBS and migraines and cholesterol issues, and let's just say that I go to 3 different doctors, I am going to pay 3 different copays, because remember, every doctor you go to, there's a copay. And I'm walking out with at least 3 different medications, and not one of those meds even touches the real root cause of your health issues. See, all they're doing is managing the numbers, the symptoms. But the moment you come off those meds, what do you think happens to the symptoms? They all come back. And for most of my life, I was dealing with these symptoms. I didn't understand, and nobody ever sat me down and said, "Troy, this is why you have migraines." You know, I had migraines for 23 years. There was no doctor that could figure out how to get rid of my migraines. I had them for 23 years. And what I eventually learned was something called insulin resistance. It's a metabolic condition that is now incredibly common. It is associated with things like weight struggles. How many of you that are on here, if you feel comfortable sharing, please do. How many of you are struggling with your weight? How many of you are struggling with your blood sugar issues? What about hormone imbalances? What about cardiovascular risk? Michelle, thank you for that. You want to know the shocking part? Is that most people are never directly tested for it. They don't even know it's present. And when you go to a doctor, your doctor will diagnose you. They'll look at the chart, they'll look at the notes and be like, "Oh, you've got high cholesterol. You know what, Joey? Here's a statin. This will help you to fix your high cholesterol." Now, I want to ask a serious question to those that are listening right now. To those of you that happen to be on a medication, do you feel like the medications are fixing your health, or do you think it's just managing it? I want you guys to be honest. Is the medications fixing the root cause, or is it just managing your symptoms? Because here's what I've learned. Doctors test what they can medicate. But I apologize for the motorcycle that's about to go down the street. I don't get why this neighbor seems to want to do that all the time. Joey says manage BK, okay? Some of you know my story, okay? Some of you know it, okay? Back in November of 2014, I donated a kidney to my sister's husband, and I'm very honored and I'm very grateful to have been able to donate my kidney. Okay, that was November of 2014. It was 7 years later when I was diagnosed with what is called stage 4 kidney disease. And my nephrologist said, "Troy, you need to lose some weight, you need to change your diet, and if you're not willing to do that, you're going to end up on dialysis or worse." My doctor gave me this. I'm confident that some of you are probably on this. Sorry. I know you guys can't probably see this, right? But my doctor put me on this. It didn't make anything better. In fact, it made me sick. And Michelle, I have Hashimoto's, hypothyroidism, you've got PCOS, you've got long COVID, and you feel like it's managed. Michelle, what I'm going to teach you tonight, I'm not joking, can help you to improve and fix the root cause so that those health issues not only improve but go away. I want you guys to picture, I want you guys to think of insulin resistance like a fire that is burning out of control in your body. Okay? I want you guys to think about this. Now, in addition to this, I want you to imagine that you are wearing noise canceling headphones, okay? If you wouldn't mind, take your hands and cover your ears and start talking. Do you notice that your voice inflection changes when you cover your ears? So imagine that you're wearing noise canceling headphones and your partner keeps asking you the same question over and over again, but you can't hear them. Or imagine that you are talking to somebody who's hard of hearing. And so what we do is we instinctively start talking louder. You guys realize that that is actually what's happening inside your body. Your body, head to toe, is made up of trillions and trillions of cells. You and I would never be able to count how many cells are in our body. There's too many of them. And every time you and I eat, okay, especially when we eat sugar, especially when we eat carbs, what happens is we spike our blood sugar. Your glucose goes up, okay? And what happens is that your body, really your pancreas, okay, your pancreas secretes a hormone called insulin. Insulin, folks, is kind of like an Uber driver. How many of you have ever gotten an Uber, right? It picks you up, takes you from point A to point B. And Joey, you're going to. I'm excited for you. But here's what insulin does, right? It picks you up. It picks up the glucose out of your bloodstream. And what it tries to do is it tries to deliver it to your cells. And normally your cells would be okay with this. But the problem is that if we're eating, right? Let me put this in the chat. I think this will put into perspective. Okay, look at this. This is what I call the standard American diet, right? The SAD diet. Okay, how many of you were taught to eat 3 meals a day and to snack 2 to 3 times throughout the day? Think about this. You guys realize that that advice is why we are sick? Why 93% of your friends and family are metabolically unhealthy? Right? If you and I went to a family reunion, both sides of the family are there. You've got your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your siblings. If you've got kids, your kids are there, your brothers and sisters are there. How many people, and be honest, how many people at that family reunion are dealing with their health, right? How many are struggling with their health? Most of them. Folks, when I donated a kidney to my brother-in-law, and I was told that I had stage 4 kidney disease 7 years later, that was my wake-up call. My dad had already passed away early. I have a brother who is 33 years old when he passed away. Folks, insulin resistance affects all of us. We have no idea that tomorrow is guaranteed, or next week, or this year is guaranteed. We have got to be an advocate for ourselves, because we can't always rely on the men and women that are wearing these white coats giving us advice or writing a prescription and telling us to go home and just take this every day. And I know some people, no joke, that are on at least 2 to 3 dozen medications. And folks, I want you to clear as mud, okay? I am not anti-doctor. I am not anti-medicine, okay, at all. I am anti-ignoring the root cause. And the problem in our healthcare, I guess you could call it, is that most doctors are not talking to you about insulin resistance, which is the leading cause of over 90% of all the chronic issues that you and I are dealing with. Why would a doctor not talk to you and explain to you why your A1C is high? Why wouldn't your doctor tell you that, hey, you need to lose some weight? No, what our doctor tells us is, or nutritionist or dietitian tells us, that we need to eat 3 to 4 to 5 small meals a day to keep your metabolism high. Folks, first and foremost, your body does not need 3 meals a day, let alone 2 to 3 more times throughout the day eating snacks. Your body really doesn't need that much food. And the reality is that when you wake up first thing in the morning, your body actually runs better when you don't eat first thing in the morning. But this is the root of today's health struggles, right? How many people do you know are diabetic? How many people do you know are dealing with cancer or PCOS, right? 26% of American women have what is called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. It is the leading cause of infertility for women. What about fatty liver? Did you know that before 1980, people that had fatty liver were people who drank alcohol? Those were the people that ended up with fatty liver disease. And now they call it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And guess what? There are kids under the age of 3 that are being diagnosed with such. How many people do you know are diabetic or pre-diabetic, type 2 diabetic, right? You guys realize that there are 2-year-olds. I'm talking about 2-year-old kids that are being diagnosed with diabetes. And Catrice for Christ, I love your handle, by the way. There's many signs of insulin resistance, right? And glucose, right, can be an issue, right? Here's something that surprised me. When people go to the doctor and cholesterol is elevated, medication is often discussed first, right? There are millions and millions of Americans around the world that are on a lipid-lowering medication. And for many people, I would say that they're helpful and necessary, but I want you guys to understand that medication should be the backup to the backup plan. Does that make sense? We all need to have a backup plan, but your medications have become the primary source of people's health, right? Far too often, all we are doing is we're throwing medications at our symptoms. Folks, if that's you, it's like having a leak in your ceiling and you're putting a bucket under it to catch the water, but never fix the roof. Does that make sense? We've got to address the environment inside our bodies, not just treat the symptoms. How many of you are waking up multiple times in the night to go to the bathroom? Frequent urination, right? How many of you are craving sugar and carbs, especially late at night? How many of you have the achy joints, right? The arthritis. How many of you have the neuropathy, the retinopathy, right? The gout, the GERD, the IBS, the vertigo, the hypothyroidism, the fibromyalgia, the hypoglycemia. You guys realize that every single one of those things, a doctor can prescribe a different medication for each one of those. Even though all of those symptoms are caused by one thing. That's what irritates me. What bothers me the most is we are walking around as medicated zombies, in a sense. Joseph, thank you for being on. Folks, I reversed stage 4 kidney disease. I had migraine headaches that I had for 23 years that literally went away in the very first week of using something simple. Now, I think it was Michelle or somebody asked. Yeah, Michelle says, how can we fix it? I'm going to teach you. And by the way, for those of you that can't be on, I have pinned a form that TikTok allows. And by the way, all of this information that I talk about is on my TikTok page, right? My pinned videos do a very great explanation of what it is that I teach. But here's the reason why I get on these lives every single day, because I think that people like you, hardworking people, have a right to understand why our body reacts the way that it does. I think it's important to understand why we have the health issues that we have, but I think it is just as important for you to understand what it is that you can do in plain, clear English on what you can do to fix the root cause. Folks, if you enjoy managing your symptoms, I'm not your guy. And I don't work with everyone. I really don't. I don't work with people who want just a quick fix. I'm not interested in giving you a quick fix. I want to help you to understand what insulin resistance is, and I want to help you to fix it. There's 3 things that I teach every single day: fasting, fiber, and the third is making sure that you have the right tools. Now, there's a tool that I've been using for 2 years that saved my life, and this is why I get on here every single day. I have customers in Sweden and the UK and Canada. I have a customer in New Zealand. I have customers all over the world that are wanting to improve their health naturally. And I don't say that to brag, but it just goes to show how many people are looking for something that actually works. I think people are tired of being on one more medication after another. Some of the medications you're on, you can't even pronounce the ingredients that are in it or the chemicals. I mean, I wouldn't even call them ingredients, they're chemicals. And what I teach is a natural alternative. You can fix and improve insulin resistance naturally. As I'm talking and as I continue to talk, Lovejoy Cummings, thank you for the follow. I want you to think about your own health. Are you struggling with these issues? And if you are, ask yourself, is the medications I'm taking, is what the doctor has prescribed, is it helping to manage my symptoms or is it helping to fix it so that I can get off my meds and that I can get on with my life, not having to worry about these meds or diets or feeling like I have to go and spend 2 hours every day at the gym. Folks, you're not alone. You're not broken. Okay. If your doctor has ever told you that you're never going to be able to reverse type 2 diabetes, first and foremost, it's a lie. I've seen hundreds of people personally reverse type 2 diabetes. It's actually easier than you think it is. But why would doctors ever teach you how to do that? Folks, let's talk about insulin for a second. Insulin is a hormone that plays a critical role in how our body uses energy. You guys realize that your body has two fuel sources. Okay, your body only has two fuel sources. Your body is either burning sugar from the foods that you're eating, or your body is tapping into your stored FAT. How many of you have the love handles? How many of you have the excess belly fat that no matter what you do, you just can't seem to get rid of? How many of you have been struggling with that for years or decades? How many of you are on these, expensive weight loss meds? I was talking to somebody the other day who she's been using these GLP-1 meds for over 2 years. She is thin as a rail. In my opinion, she looks very unhealthy. She has no reason to use it. She's afraid of gaining weight. Folks, I want you to understand, Marikar, thank you for being on. I want you to understand there's 2 stages of your life where you actually want to be insulin resistant temporarily. And that's puberty and pregnancy, because this is the phase where your body starts to grow. Okay? Your body is prioritizing growth, puberty and pregnancy. But outside of those 2 stages, if you've got chronically elevated insulin, it becomes a major, serious problem. Because the reality is that if your insulin stays high for too long, guess what happens? Your cells stop responding to insulin in the way that it should. How many of you have kids? If you have kids, type kids in the chat. Okay? I'll give you guys a second to, if you have kids, type kids in the chat. I want to compare and do an analogy with your kids to insulin resistance. Okay, Nella says 3 kids, right? Catherine's got kids. Now, let me ask you this. At any point when your kids are growing up, and maybe they're still growing up, maybe you still have kids at home, has there ever been a point in their life where you asked them to do something a couple times and they ignored you? Right? They don't listen to you, right? Think back to when you were a kid. Was there ever a time when you ignored and you didn't listen to what your parents were saying? This is what happens to our cells in our body with insulin. Insulin is the gatekeeper to our cells. It is the key that unlocks our cells. It's what allows our cells to open up and allow the glucose to enter in from the foods that we've eaten. This is the energy that powers your brain, your organs, okay? But what happens when you become resistant is that your cells have closed the door, the lock has been locked, and the key's been thrown away. And now insulin, in fact, the key lock has been changed. Insulin can no longer get into your cells. And now you have this excess amount of glucose just chilling in your bloodstream. And guess what happens? It's got to get dumped somewhere. So now it gets dumped into your liver. Hello, fatty liver disease. It gets dumped into your joints. How many of you are dealing with arthritis? It gets dumped into your brain, right? Too much sugar in the brain of a child is ADHD. Too much sugar in the brain of an adult is Alzheimer's and dementia. See, when you break this down and we start to understand what causes all the things, it helps us to understand, oh my gosh, this is what's causing my neuropathy, right? The tingling sensation, the burning sensation. And here's the sad part, folks, is right now, more than half of the people in the United States are diabetic or pre-diabetic. And nearly 3 out of 4 people are overweight or obese. Rates of cardiovascular disease, autoimmune conditions, right? Fertility issues, metabolic dysfunction continues to rise. And these challenges aren't just limited to physical health, right? It's been associated with brain fog and anxiety and depression, mood changes, right? All of these things affect the quality of life in powerful ways. And what makes this especially frustrating is that these symptoms are often treated separately with medications. Okay, medications are not the answer. Someone might be on medications for blood pressure, another for cholesterol, another for blood sugar, without ever addressing what is actually driving all of these together. See, when we only manage symptoms, the root cause continues to remain. And that fire, which I consider insulin resistance to be, that fire continues to burn out of control. And until we fix that, folks, okay, you're going to continue to be on medications. And over time, your doctor's going to find ways to put you on more and more and more. This is why I teach what I teach. Did you know that you can have insulin resistance between 10 and 20 years, okay, somewhere between that, before it leads to a diabetes diagnosis? It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy, right? How many of you, again, are dealing with skin issues like skin tags, psoriasis, eczema, adult acne? Okay. What about high blood pressure and high cholesterol? How many of you are on a statin? Okay. If you are, type the letter S in the chat. It helps me to know how many people are on a statin. How many of you are dealing with excess belly fat, right? How many of you, no matter what it is that you do, you just can't seem to lose that? Okay. User 371, okay. James, okay. Nella, okay. We've got 3 people right now on a statin. How is it? And let me ask you, have you experienced any side effects? I hope you haven't. But is that med helping you to get better, or is it just managing your symptoms? I want you guys to, I'm going to give you guys some homework. It's very simple, easy, brief homework. I want you, not now, but later tonight or tomorrow, I want you to go and look up the side effects to the specific medication you're on. And I think if you are a person who is careful, I think you will be pretty mindful, and it'll be an eye opener for you to consider what it is that you are putting inside your body. Because the reality is that these medications will eventually damage your liver and or your kidneys or both. Folks, my friend, who's a former rocket scientist, reached out to me 2.5 years after I was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney disease. My friend who cared enough, God always puts the right people in your life. And she reached out to me. I've known her and her husband for a long time. I was a financial advisor at the same company that her husband was for over a decade. And she reached out to me completely out of the blue, and she shared a simple system with me. And all she said was, you should give it a try. It comes with a 90-day guarantee. So I knew that I had nothing to lose if I was willing to try it for 90 days. How many of you are willing to try something for 30 days or 60 days, 90 days, and if it doesn't work, you can get your money back? How many of you would be open to that? How many of you have ever sat across from your doctor and your doctor says, you know what, you take this statin, and if it doesn't help you over the next 90 days, I'm going to give you your money back? How many of you have ever seen a medication that has no side effects and comes with a 90-day guarantee? Please put that in the chat. Miji says never. How many others feel the same way? Have you ever noticed that when you go to a doctor, it's, as the nurse assistant or whoever it is that walks you back to the room, do you guys realize that oftentimes they'll ask you some basic questions, and one of those questions is, which pharmacy would you like to go to? You haven't even met with your doctor yet. And 2235 ULA 45, you could have type 2 diabetes for 20 years and it can be reversed. Type 1, no, right? But I want to share something with you, because this right here happens to be a type 1 diabetic. Now, I can't make this up, but I want you to look at this. In 66 days, I have decreased insulin by 64%. This is a type 1 diabetic, folks, completely off blood pressure meds after over 47 years of being on a high blood pressure medication. 47, I am 47. My entire life, he was on a blood pressure med. And in 66 days of being on a simple plant-based system that it works, by the way, this is actually listed in the same Bible that doctors use to prescribe from. It's called the PDR. Some of you may have even heard of it. At the end of the day, if you don't know that you can improve your health, if there's anything that you get from this life, that is what I want you to know. You can fix all of this naturally. 90% of all of the chronic issues that exist today can be eliminated if we just focus on the root cause. And not just that, but pay attention to what your body is telling you, right? Be mindful of the foods and the things that we're putting into our body. If you are waking up and because you were taught that breakfast was the most important meal of the day, that you're supposed to have a bowl of cereal or a bagel, loaded bagel on top of that, you guys realize that if that's how you start your morning, that you are literally wrecking the rest of your day? Think about this for a second. We were taught in the 90s, even before then, that breakfast was the most important meal of the day. That was brought to you by a corporation. You guys can figure out the corporation. Two brothers. You know what it is. But they created this idea that having a bowl of cereal to start your morning with milk poured into it was the best way to start your breakfast or start your day. You guys ever notice that when you eat something like that first thing in the morning or even throughout the day, that like 30 minutes later you're tired? Or 30 minutes later you're hungry, even after you've just eaten? You see, when we start our day and when we eat foods that are full of sugar and carbs, it spikes our blood sugar. And what happens is your body releases a hormone called insulin. Now, here's the truth between glucose and your insulin. Glucose, your blood sugar, is like a rabbit. It's super fast, okay? But insulin, on the other hand, it's like a turtle. Unless I have known, turtles can't move very fast. And what happens is when you spike your glucose and it's going up and down all day because you get the highs and the crashes, this is when you're tired or you're hungry. Well, guess what? Your insulin stays high. And by the time it starts to come down, which you want it to come down, that's when you're having a snack or you're eating lunch or your next meal. And before you know it, at the end of the day, you are literally swimming in insulin. Okay, it's called hyperinsulinemia. You're literally swimming in it. And if you've got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, blood sugar issues, neuropathy, brain fog, anxiety, depression, gout, GERD, PCOS, erectile dysfunction, I mean, the list goes on and on. Every single one of those things is caused by elevated, chronically elevated levels of insulin. And yet we've been taught to start our day with breakfast. How many diabetics that are watching this have ever been told to start your day with oatmeal, oats? If you've been told to start your day with oats, put that in the chat. What do we feed horses to fatten them up? How many of us in the old food guide was told that we were supposed to have 6 to 11 servings of what every day? Grains? You know what we feed cows to fatten them up? Grains. So we were told to start our day with carbs and sugar, right? Carbs leads to diabetes. Diabetes leads to cardiovascular disease. And by the way, if you happen to be a type 2 diabetic, if you're diabetic, folks, do you realize that your risk for cardiovascular disease, for Alzheimer's, for stroke, you guys realize that goes up by 80%? You are 80% more likely to have a stroke, a heart attack, or some cardiovascular event. You are 80% or 81% more likely to develop Alzheimer's or dementia. And if you are that special diabetic, type 2 diabetic at that, and your doctor has you on insulin, I want you to understand that your risk for cardiovascular disease, for heart attack, it triples. And your risk for Alzheimer's and dementia and the dreadful C word that you and I that we celebrate in September, it doubles. These are not just numbers. These are life-altering truths. And yet when you go to your doctor, your favorite doctor, you love to see them because they're always asking about your family and, you know, they send you a birthday card, right? They always want to diagnose and treat your symptoms. How is that working out for you? Seriously. I am sick and tired of seeing people around me that are affected by these health, that are on one medication after another, with no sign of relief. If you've got skin issues, if you have all of these issues, neuropathy, brain fog, right? There's signals from your body that something deeper is going on. Selena's Freddy, I have my breakfast until noon, it's perfect. I love breakfast. Have it for lunch or have it for dinner, right? Folks, there's type 1 diabetics, there's type 2 diabetics, and you've got type 3 diabetes, which is now being referred to as Alzheimer's and dementia. And one of the biggest challenges is that insulin resistance is not tested directly. Many people are told that your labs look normal, but insulin resistance continues to burn out of control. Seriously. And by the time someone is diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance has been developing for 10 to 20 years. The good news is that you can fix that today. If you are serious about moving the needle, and I mean for reals, you're going to focus on at least 2 of the 3 things that I'm talking about. The first one is fasting. How many of you have ever tried time-based eating, or what is referred to as intermittent fasting? And all this means is that you're going longer periods of time without putting food into your mouth. You're avoiding carbs, you're avoiding sugar, you're avoiding food in general. When you do that, you're allowing your glucose spikes to come down. And when your glucose spikes come down, guess what else comes down? Insulin. See, when insulin is high, your body is storing FAT. When insulin is low, the FAT's gotta go. Seriously, when insulin levels are low, your body is burning that stored FAT. But when it's high, that's all your body is doing. You cannot burn and store fat at the same time. You're doing one or the other. I mean, think about it. This fire could be burning out of control for a really long time. And this conversation that we're having right now is not about avoiding doctors and medications. It's about supporting your body alongside what you might already be doing. Karanji, thank you for being on here. Guys, you can fix and improve your health without the need for meds, without the need for crazy diets, and without feeling like you have to spend all day at the gym. Fasting is one of the quickest things that you can do to regulate your insulin levels. And what I'm sipping on, by the way, helps to shut the food noise off. It decreases cravings. Now, I drink this literally all day long. I can't get enough of it. I love it. But it is a chlorogenic acid tea. It is loaded with theobromine and chlorogenic acid. And it has the yerba mate plant, which is found in South America, Argentina, Brazil. Okay. Folks, yerba mate tea is not listed in the PDR. But this is. How powerful is that? How powerful it is that we are the only company in the world that has a natural tool, a tea and a fiber, that is listed in the same PDR that doctors prescribe drugs from. And yet hardly any one of you even knows that it even exists, because nobody talks about it. I talk about it because it changed my life. It literally saved my life. And if you are looking for a natural alternative to the medications that doctors often have you on, folks, you don't have to wait to fix your health. I am living proof that you can improve it without the need for meds or diets or any of that. Medications, again, should be the backup to the backup plan, not the first thing that doctors just want to constantly give us. And the biggest health crisis in the world today is not just our economy, it's insulin resistance. And 93% of us have it, right? And like I said before, the most frustrating thing is that we are often treating symptoms separately with a medication. Now, I want you to imagine, okay, what if there was a solution to the biggest health problem in the world? What would you do with it? Okay, put your answer in the chat. If you had a solution to the biggest health problem in the world that could literally help people reverse type 2 diabetes, that can help people reverse neuropathy, help people get their energy back, help people to lose weight naturally without having to be on an injection or any of that. What would that mean to you if you had a solution to the biggest problem, a health problem in the world? What would you do with it? Would you share it? Would you sell it for the highest bid? Or would you share it with as many people as you possibly could to make a difference in people's lives? That's exactly why I teach the Feel Great system, because it works. Folks, whether you're on 1 med, 0 meds, or 100 medications, it works. It works with your biology, not against it. And Ashley, thank you so much for the follow. I appreciate that. And Shanti, share it, right? That's exactly why I get on these lives. If you are in the United States and you happen to be employed with a company that offers you benefits that include an HSA and FSA, right? Health savings account or flexible spending account. If your employer offers that to you, would you please send me a DM? Please connect, stay in touch with me, connect with me. Let me know if you have an HSA or FSA. Because what's great is you can actually use that to order the system that I use. And MJ, thank you for the follow. Nella says, would share it. I love that. Right? And I'm right there with you. I share this with as many people as I possibly can, because most people have no idea that there's a natural solution to the biggest health problem in the world. This is why I get on here. Okay? I'm not interested in managing your symptoms. I don't care. I want to fix it. Fasting is one of the best things you can do. And here's the reality. When you fast for 24 hours, well, let's back up, right? If you're new to fasting, I would encourage you to start out with 12 to 13 hours. Work your way up to 16 to 18 hours. There's something special or even magical that happens at around 17 hours in your body. It's called autophagy. Autophagy, folks, is kind of like, how many of you have ever bought a house and you renovated it? That's what autophagy is doing in your body. Your body is literally getting rid of old, dead, tired, unhealthy cells, and your body's replenishing it. Your body's healing from the inside. Autophagy is powerful, okay? Because your body is literally utilizing the old cells as its primary source of fuel. This is one of the best ways for you to start burning that stored fat, right? How many of you have the excess belly fat, the love handles, the visceral fat that surrounds your organs, right? You guys realize that it's literally, if it's surrounding your organs, that's dangerous. That's a heart attack waiting to happen. Stroke. And by the way, it's not the first stroke that takes you. It's usually the second or the third. How many of you have love handles? How many of you would love to get rid of them? And you're tired of being on these injections that just don't work. If you're open, okay, if you are open to a different solution that you can try risk-free for 90 days, then I hope that you will connect with me. If you are ready to fix your health, send me a message saying ready. And Catrice for Christ, I love that. You should be skeptical. I want to share something with you, okay, and to everyone who's listening, okay? This right here happens to be the competition. This is the competition. Most of us never second guess when a doctor prescribes you a statin or metformin or Ozempic or any of that. Some of you may have already or thinking about doing bariatric. But I want you guys to understand something, that every single one of these things has a side effect. How many of you have ever heard of the Cleveland Clinic? How many of you have ever heard of BYU, Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah? What about the University of Sydney? What about the UNLV in Las Vegas? What about UCLA? What about Stanford? How many of you have ever heard of the prescriber's digital reference, right? This is where doctors prescribe meds from. And did you know that we are listed in there as a nutraceutical. Folks, the manufacturer gives everyone who is willing to try this a 90-day risk-free money-back guarantee on the system. If it doesn't work, you get your money back. Your doctor can actually look this up in the physician's desk reference. They can see all of the clinical studies that have been studied on it. But this is our reality, folks. Belly fat, skin tags, inflammation, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, high blood sugar, constant cravings. All of these things are caused by one thing. How many of you remember Rexall? There's 5 patents on this. Nobody can copy it. There's more than 24 clinical studies that have been studied around the world on this system, and hardly anybody knows about it. I want you to look at this. This is one of my customers. Look at this text message that I received. How wonderful is this? How amazing to have somebody who is down almost 100 pounds, type 2 gone, IBS, gout, vertigo, depression gone. How many of you know somebody with lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or diabetes? Insulin resistance, right? You notice how, look at Claudia. Claudia used to be a type 2 diabetic for 23 years, and she was on a medication called metformin, which is what some of you that are on this live are on. What I'm sipping on happens to be a natural metformin. Does the same thing, except there's no side effects. There's no contraindication. So step 1 is fiber, or fasting, excuse me. Step 2 is fiber. See, you and I are getting less than half of the fiber that you and I need. Fiber plays a vital role in protecting your kidneys, your heart, your liver. Right? Fiber is something that helps you to feel full. But when you have foods that have fiber in it, it helps to fill you up. It's satiating. But when the food industry removes fiber from our foods, we eat far more than we should. And it's not about eating less food, folks. It's about eating less often. You don't need 3 meals a day. We don't need to snack 2 to 3 times a day. We're not toddlers anymore, right? Your body doesn't need it. There's a reason why kids can just eat anything they want and they just burn right through it. But the reality is that this information, right? What we were taught back in the late 80s, early in the 90s, right? To eat 3 meals a day and to snack all day long. That is why 93% of us are metabolically unhealthy. This is why half of our country is overweight or obese. This is why 77% of our young adults are unfit to serve in the military because of these health issues. 26% of American women are on PCOS. How many men are struggling with erectile dysfunction and low testosterone? And no, I'm not talking about guys in their 60s. I'm talking about guys in their 20s. How many of you are waking up at least 1 to 2 times in the night to go to the bathroom? How many of you are wearing a CPAP machine at night because your breathing's all over the place? You guys realize that all of this is caused by insulin resistance. And it's interesting, I just got restricted, saying that I'm redirecting people, which is crazy because I haven't, but that's okay. Folks, if you want what I have, the LINK is in my bio. This comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. It works. It's clinically proven and guaranteed to work. Folks, if you want to jump on a phone call, I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you and explain even in greater detail what it is. If you guys want to send me a message, screenshot this. I'm happy to send you the information. I'm here in Arizona. This is a local number here in Arizona. I'm happy to connect. You can go here. This is a website, right? Or you can send me a message there. I'm happy to send you whatever it is that you need to make the best decision for you. And if you're on the fence, folks, okay, this comes with a 90-day money-back guarantee. A lot of you are on medications. We have a solution to the biggest health problem in the world, and hardly anybody knows about it. This has been around for more than 30 years, and most people don't know that it even exists. And you can try it risk-free. It is just as effective and often works better than the medications that are often prescribed. There is no side effects. There's no contraindications. You can prove that it is working inside your body. If you are checking your blood work or you are going to your doctor and they're checking it for you, you are going to notice a measurable, noticeable difference in your blood work. Your blood work does not lie. There's a reason why when you go to a doctor, they don't check your fasting insulin or they don't check chronic inflammation, right? They check your glucose levels. But here's the thing about checking your glucose levels. It's like having a basement in your home that looks dry on the surface, but is actually full of water beneath it. We've got to address the environment inside our body, not just the symptoms. And if that sounds like you, and if you're ready to seriously fix your health, like I said before, I don't work with people who just want a quick fix. If you're not willing to make some small, simple changes in your habits, I'm not your guy. If you love being on your meds, I'm not your guy. But if you are serious about moving the needle, folks, give me 90 days. You will absolutely be blown away by how well this works. It is an absolute game changer. Doctors are starting to question what their patients are doing because they're improving their health in ways that don't need the meds. So if this resonates with you and if you are ready, and this is what you've been praying for and looking for, you don't have to wait to fix your health, okay? Folks, let me put this up here again. I just want to make sure. And by the way, if you need this, send me a DM. I'm happy to send you my number. If you want to connect, if you've got more questions, you can send me a text. I respond all the time. And I'm happy to help you. Okay. Folks, I really do appreciate you guys hopping on tonight. Okay. I hope that you guys have an amazing night. I will be on tomorrow morning. I just really appreciate each and every one of you for giving me your time. Thank you for being on tonight. Okay. I hope and pray that you guys